William Qualkinbush, I don't know if he's, followed the program today or followed our Twitter feed. Well, I know he follows our Twitter feed. I just don't know if he's happened to be keeping up with it. But Qualk, on Friday afternoon, by the way, my man, welcome in. Thank you for being a part of the show. But I will say this, on Friday, Qualk, Tommy Bowden was on the program, and we were kind of talking about Clemson, and he made a point. He said, look, remember a few years back when they barely beat Troy 30-24 as a close ball game? And he's right. And then you go through that 2016 season, a year where Clemson wins the national championship. And Qualk, they went to overtime against NC State. I mean, they barely beat Auburn on the road. It's okay if Clemson's playing close games. Now, this offense does not look good, but the thing I want to impress upon Clemson Tiger fans is it wasn't all that long ago where just beating the brakes off of people was the norm.
That's true. First of all, Swanny, thanks for having me. Glad to be here, even on a day of carnage such as this. Listen, I like Coach Bowden. I think a lot of Coach Bowden. Coach Bowden gave me hope as a youngster who sat through every single home game of the 3-8 1998 season. So there's that. I think he's right if we're talking about life in a vacuum. But the reality is that since that point in, 2015? Is that right? That was the 2015 season where they were playing a close game? Is that right?
The year Clemson goes on.
I'm sorry, yes. 2016, yeah. Okay. Since that point, we have seen 4 years consecutively where Clemson's offense has looked a certain way. I actually think, I was thinking about this the other day, if this season had happened in 2017, people would be much more forgiving. Think about what was true about the 2017 team. No Gallman, no Williams, no Leggett, no Watson. A lot of those guys on defense were out. Like, there was a lot of rebuilding to do. And all that 2017 team did was just shove it down everybody's throat and ask them how they liked it. And they went on the road to Louisville. They pounded Louisville. They won a bunch of games. Like, they beat ranked teams. That team was great, right? But if this season happened in 2017, we'd be like, you know what? Growing pains. You can't win a championship every year, blah, blah, blah. When this season didn't happen in 2017, when you got back to the playoffs and had a number one seed, despite the fact that it felt like you were limited in some ways, including but not limited to the quarterback position, it gave the sense, I think, this program is impervious. Then you go 2018, you win a national championship in a season in which you had a quarterback controversy and your starting quarterback left in the middle of a game prep week. And then 2019, you're following up the quote-unquote best team ever with a team that as good or better, and you just stub your toe at the end. And then last year. So, like, yes, I agree with the sentiments about 2010 or 2014 or 2016 or 2017 or whatever. But the reality is this is a program that was set up to be impervious to all that stuff. And I'll also make this one point. It's not as if the coaches didn't help themselves getting into this mess. Or said a different way, it's not as if the coaches didn't hurt themselves by telling us DJ Uiagalelei is basically a heat-seeking missile with a body attached, and they won't throw it down the field. The deepest, most talented receiving core that Dabo Swinney's had since he's been here, which, by the way, he was coaching receivers for Tommy Bowden for several years. So he's seen almost 20 classes of receivers. You're not even trying to get the receivers involved, not even trying to use them. Offensive line is deeper, more experienced, way ahead of where it was last year. We heard that just Tuesday. They played 5 offensive linemen, ineffective offensive linemen, in a game against an overmatched Georgia Tech team that was putting 5 men in the box a lot of downs. So, like, and then running backs. You know, you got Lindsey Dixon, an incumbent, who was just inferior to the other 2 guys. So it's not as if the coaches didn't tell us to expect more. You know, it'd be one thing if we were just making it up in our brain, Swanee, but it's another thing entirely when the coaches are telling us how explosive this offense is going to be, and then you've come out and looked like this the first 3 games. I think people are right to be frustrated.
I think one thing that bothered me more than anything Saturday is the fact that, yes, the look that Georgia Tech's giving you, forcing you to run, whatever. But if it's that easy, right? Like, I can't, like, I kind of made the comparison. It's got to be harder than changing my print cartridge over here on my toner. Like, it's got to be a little harder than that. But I would believe that a team as good as Clemson's expected to be would be equipped with when all of a sudden there's an issue. somebody's giving us a look we didn't expect that we go, all right, guys, here's what we got to do. And I didn't feel like they were very effective in that. And that's like my biggest concern is that they weren't effective in adjustments. And they had like 2.5 hours for halftime.
Right. So here, I'll say this. I saw a lot of people trying to downplay. Basically, there are a lot of folks who I think have never had a problem in their jobs that wasn't easy to solve. Like, oh, well, you made $2 million. Well, you just go fix it. No. Like I did a high school game a few years ago where there was a team that did nothing but spread that lined up in the single wing, Swanny, like the old school single wing, like 1940 single wing. It didn't matter. You could have paid that defensive coordinator $28 billion a year. He was not going to figure that out until some time had passed, until he saw what was happening, right? I mean, when somebody comes out for something that's very different, and like, let's be honest, you got a true freshman left guard who's been hearing all week how he's going to have to deal heads up over a defensive tackle, and now he's heads up over nobody because he's in an odd front, or he's heads up over a nose that he wasn't supposed to be going against in that particular way. So, like, those, I'm not saying that they shouldn't have figured it out, but I'm saying those are legitimate. That's not made up. That's not like some excuse where, like, oh, come on, you can't possibly. No. It ain't Madden where you just go, oh, okay, they're running 3-4 today. Well, we'll just run the same stuff. It'll be fine. That can't, it doesn't work that way. With that said, I do think they ran better stuff after the delay. If you look at the 3 series preceding the delay, 2 of them were 3 and outs. You look at the 3 series after the delay, all of them, I believe, were 8 plays or more. 2 of them were double-digit plays. 1 resulted in the fumble. So it's not like they weren't moving the ball afterwards. I think like 60, almost 70% of their yards came in the 3 drives post-break. So I do think I don't think it's fair to say they didn't adjust. I think they adjusted some. But when you are, this is a deeper issue to me. It's not flawed. It's not weakness. It's not wrong to say we're going to take what the defense gives us. That's not wrong. In fact, that's not a philosophy. I know Dabo, has gotten criticized recently for saying we do what we do and that take what the defense gives us. People are reading that out. I think people understand that is the exact same philosophy that won you 2 national championships and got you to 2 more. Like 2015, guess what Clemson did? They took what the defense gave them. 2016, they took what the defense gave them. The problem was not that taking what the defense gives you is inherently bad or wrong or Clemson can't do it. The problem is they didn't take anything. Georgia Tech gave them like 6 yards on the ground every play. If you got a decent offensive line and a good run game, go take it. Otherwise, they're going to run 8 in coverage all day long because you can't run it. The issue was not that Clemson was taking what the defense gave them. The issue was that it didn't take what the defense gave them. In the non-sack run play, Swanny, Clemson averaged just under 4 yards a carry. You have got to be able to run the ball better than that against a team that's going to be inferior up front to the opponent that you face this week, the opponent you're going to face next week, and several opponents down the line. You have to be able to line up and run that ball. And so Clemson could have had a lot of success taking what the defense gave them. Heck, against Georgia Tech 2 years ago, they took away Trevor Lawrence entirely, and so the Tigers ran for over 400 yards. Then they go to Atlanta last year, and they took away Travis Etienne entirely. Clemson throws for 500 yards. Clemson has been taking what Georgia Tech gave them each of the last 2 years and has absolutely destroyed this defense. The issue is not with the philosophical approach. The issue is that they cannot do that this year with this team. If you cannot line up and run the ball against a 5-man box, guess what you're going to see every doggone week? Odd fronts with cloud coverage. So you better figure out how to run the ball, or you better just push it down the field regardless and deal with some interceptions. I mean, these are the hard choices that Clemson's got right now because that is a reality that people do not want to confront. But when you can't take what the defense is giving you, then every single defense from that point on is going to make you prove it to them that week that you can do that.
I agree 100%. He's on Twitter at Qualk Talk again every day, noon until 3, out of bounds with Qualk and Kelly in the upstate. And, you look at, I think back to the 2014 season, Qualk, when Deshaun Watson takes over at quarterback against Florida State and Clemson's down at the goal line. They don't go under shotgun, and that costs them in that ball game, in my opinion. And then what happened on Saturday, very similar, just kind of on the reverse end of the field. You're like at the 1 yard line, backed up in your own end zone and you stay in the shotgun. And look, I get it. It worked out. There was a fumble and he was out of the end zone. And, but if grandma had rubber wheels, she'd be a bicycle. I mean, the ifs and buts about, well, what if he gotten out, it was a great play call. Yeah, but he didn't. And he fumbled. And if Georgia Tech recovers it, they're going for 2 to tie the game. Like, to me, from the standpoint of the strategy behind it, and I asked Tony Elliott after the game, and I thought people thought I was crazy. Trevor Maddich even said it as well. I was thinking the whole time, just throw the ball. I'm seeing this guy throw the ball 85 yards. Just run a route and throw it out of bounds. Qualk, how is it not possible that Clemson's got somebody with the ability to take a snap under center and fall forward? Like, if you are a championship level team, a Power 5 program, why is Hunter Helms not just doing that at practice? Because if you tell me Hunter Helms fumbles the ball and Georgia Tech gets a safety or whatever, but you say to me, we practice that every day with Hunter Helms for a situation like this, I go, you're preparing for everything. But if you don't have that, to me, you're not preparing for every moment in the game.
All right, so I don't disagree at all. And I think conceptually it's a good thing. Now, there are 2 potential reasons why you wouldn't go under center. The first, and we should say this, we should point it out, is the center. You have a brand new center who hasn't snapped the ball that many times in a game situation to anybody, any quarterback of any caliber. So
let me preface one thing. Whoever Hunter Helms is working with at practice on the snaps would be the center in this scenario as well. I forgot to throw in that other caveat of the center and the quarterback would be well in sync.
So there's that. I just want to point out.
That's a fair point.
It could be an issue with Bockhorst. It could be that he's more comfortable snapping in the shotgun than he is snapping under center. And people will tell you it's different. It's different snapping at different quarterbacks. It's different snapping under center, pistol, shotgun. It's all different. The second is the quarterback. Kelly Gramling, my co-host, went back to the Boston College game, and DJ took a snap under center. I believe this would be considered the last time DJ took an under center snap in a game. And there was a bad exchange between he and Travis Etienne that Boston College returned 99 yards for a touchdown. So it could be that DJ doesn't want to take snaps under center either. I'm not saying that any of that is right. I'm not saying somebody shouldn't have said, bro, you're just going to take a snap under center. But those would be reasons why in that position in that game, because you don't want to fumble exchange. The most important thing is that the quarterback receives the snap because you're counting on your running back to not drop the ball at the goal line. By the way, Clemson fumbled 3 times in the game. I should note that. That DJU ran the ball 8 times and fumbled twice. So it's not like DJ running the ball is like the perfect elixir that fixes everything. He still is putting the ball on the ground. Shipley puts the ball on the ground right there in a place that you can't. That was doomed from the start. The best thing they did, honestly, was try to get Georgia Tech to jump off sides, getting a little greedy. That was the best thing they did because that was not my first inclination. But when it became clear that's what they're doing, I was like, you know what? That's pretty smart because you don't actually want to snap the ball in that situation.
I told my son Clemson should just try that until Georgia Tech finally jumps off sides. Like
they really could do it.
There's no like penalty for just continually trying to get the team to jump off sides. You just half the distance.
That's right. Look, the sad part of this, and we laugh or we'd cry, right, Swanny? The sad part of this is Clemson can't line up and get a yard with a quarterback who's oscillating between big and little Cinco, but he's around 250 pounds. You can't line up and get half a yard and just fall forward. That speaks to some of the deep-seated issues offensively. You know what the main issue offensively is? They don't have an identity. You know why they don't have an identity? Because Georgia kicked their teeth in. Think about what we were hearing about this offense in August. Think about how Dabo Swinney talked about them after the game Saturday and then his teleconference Sunday. This is an offensive football team that is so fragile. I mean, they're just fragile. And I'm not talking soft, although I could point to some instances now where they got to get tougher. But you got to get tougher in the interior offensive line. I'm going to tell you right now, people are killing the offensive line. The biggest disaster right now offensively for Clemson is the wide receiver blocking on the edge. Holy smokes. 3 small children could block on the edge better than that. Frank Ladson has been – I'm a big Frank Ladson fan, and I've said a lot of nice things about Frank Ladson. So this is tough love right here. You got to block anybody against NC State, and it'll be the first time. Like I don't understand how the blocking on the edge has been that poor. So there are issues to work out in terms of the ability of this team to execute. But they're not executing because there's no trust in each other, and there is no self-trust between any player and himself. And I think that manifested itself at 1st and 10 from the 1-yard line when you couldn't even get out of the end zone.
James says we can't run and we can't pass. What's left? Well, Spires is a heck of a job this year punting the football. I'll be honest with you. He's MVP.
You know what? Let me say real quick. I think they can run. Like they only had 4 tackles for loss. I think one of those was like a swing pass to Lynn J. Dixon. So like on run plays, they ran the ball a bunch. Only 3 times he got tackled for loss. They took like the bare minimum of what the play was designed to get and what the defense gave them. They're just not capable of getting anything else. So I would say that. I did think they ran the ball better, obviously than they did against Georgia or even than they did against South Carolina State.
I was trying to look, Qualk, and let's see, how much time do I have? About a minute. 2 minutes, actually. Dabo Swinney's opening comment, and I'm sure you guys probably played this on Out of Bounds with Qualk and Kelly today. If not, just the way he said it about we're a work in progress right now. You said fragile. That's kind of what I heard in his voice. Like he knows that this team it's walking on, it's like thin ice right now with this group. Like they are a fragile bunch. I agree. And I'm going to play that audio for everybody after you and I get off the air again so they can hear just what I'm hearing in his voice. But I think you're all over it, man. Listen, always appreciate you joining us, hanging out with us, being a part of it. I know Tiger fans are like, oh, this is awful. But I got to admit, for us, this is kind of exciting because there's something to talk about because for years it's just been Clemson hot knifing through butter everybody. I mean, now we've got some intrigue here to this 2021 campaign.
Yeah, you're right. And let's not gloss over, which we did. We didn't even talk about them. And I barely mentioned on the show today, but first time in 71 years at Clemson that they've held the first 3 opponents out of the end zone. And Georgia hadn't done that. Nobody's done that in the nation. Clemson, Georgia, Iowa are the 3 best defenses in the country. And it's not like Clemson fans aren't used to winning a whole bunch of games, not scoring a bunch of points, and holding people to basically 0, 3, or 6. So
Brent
this is going to be like
one question after the game Saturday.
Yeah,
unbelievable.
Because it's amazing what they're doing.
It is, isn't it? One question. Everybody else wants to know what's going wrong everywhere else. Brent Phillips has got it right. We'll talk to you next week, buddy. Take care, man.
Thanks, Swanee. Be good, buddy.
All right, stay with us.
Columbia's most dependable traffic, sponsored by Pope Davis Tire and Automotive, home of the best tire prices in Columbia, guaranteed. Fox Sports Radio 1400 traffic.
A look at the road shows a wreck on I-26 eastbound near the Highway 1 exit. Also a wreck on I-20 westbound at the North Main exit. If you're stuck, use the 103.5 FM WVOC traffic tip line 343-1055.
This report is sponsored by Lowe's Foods.
We did it. The Buy Low at 120 Forum Drive is now a full-fledged brand spanking chicken clucking brisket rubbing veggie chopping draft pouring new Lowe's Foods. The grand opening of your local Lowe's Foods is here. Get excited.
It's time to get your home insanely clean. Listen, Zero Res cleans like no other. No harsh chemicals and no sticky, soapy residue is left behind. And right now, get 3 rooms of carpet cleaned for $119. Plus, when you mention station, you'll get a hallway cleaned for free. Schedule online at ZeroResColumbia.com.
There's a hot new podcast we think you'll like. Variety's Strictly Business. Hear candid conversations about business deals, strategy, and the future of media and entertainment from industry A-listers. Hosted by Variety business editor Cynthia Littleton and co-editor-in-chief Andrew Wallenstein. And once a month, executive editor of music Shirley Halperin will join the conversation to discuss the business of music. Listen to Strictly Business on iHeartRadio or wherever you get your podcasts.
By popular demand, Great Southern Homes now lists their coming soon communities online. Whether you're looking for a new home in your hometown, moving to a new town, or just want your pick of choice lots,